Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful dress. If it's something you're interested in, please keep on watching and let's get started with the video. So I'm going to be using about 5 yards of fabric for this dress because of the flayed part, so you can use between 5 to 6 yards. So for this pattern, we're going to be cutting directly on my fabric. I'm not going to be using any pattern paper, and I'm going to be cutting out the front part first. That's the upper bodice of the front. And as you can see, my fabric is folded into two. All I did was to divide my bust circumference by 4, and I added extra allowance to it. So right now on top of my fabric, I'm going to be marking about half an inch at the top. This will be a guideline for my shoulder slope, so I'll just mark half an inch here like so. So from that shoulder line that I marked, I'm going to be marking my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. So I'll just mark it across my fabric like so. Then at this point, I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So the next measurement I'll be taking is my shoulder to my waist. My shoulder to my waist is actually 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that 16 inches first. But I'm not going to be using 16 inches. This is because this upper bodice is going to be having a band. But I'll mark my 16 inches first before minusing the band length that I want. So just watch what I'm doing. So after marking that, I'm going to be removing the band height that I want. So what I'll do right now is that I'll come up from that 16 inches by 1.5 inches. So my band height to be 1.5 inches. If you want your band height to be 2 inches, all you need to do is just come up by 2 inches. So this will be where my shoulder to my waist will be for now before adding my band to it. I hope you guys understand. So right now, I'll just use my ruler to connect. So right now I'll come to my shoulder line and mark my neck width. So I'll be using 3 inches on my neck width. Then my shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8 inches. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I've marked 8 inches. So now I'll be coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So right now I'll connect that 1 inch I came down by for my shoulder slope to the 3 inches I measured for my neck width. Right now, I'll be taking my armhole measurement, and my armhole measurement is just my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and it gave me approximately 8 inches. So I'll just connect it to my the 1 inch I came down by my shoulder slope. So right now, I'll just go ahead and extend this line as well. So now I'll be taking my armhole curve, and what I need to do is to divide this 8 inches into 2. If I divide it into 2, it will give me 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that 4 inches here like so. Then by that 4 inches, I'll just go in by about half of an inch. So right now, I'll just use my ruler to connect from my shoulder slope down to that half an inch I came in by. Then I'll go ahead and use my armhole curve to make a curve here like so. So I hope you guys understand how I did this. So right now I'm going to be taking my body measurement and I will mark it from my armhole. So I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to place it on my armhole like so. So my bust circumference divided by 4 is 9.5 inches. Then I'll go ahead and add 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. So right now I'll come to my waist and divide my waist circumference by 4. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 8 inches. So the back of this dress is going to be having a dart. The front is not going to be having a dart. So because the back is going to be having a dart, so I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch first. Right now I'll just go ahead and 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. And I'll go ahead and add 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. So right now I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So right now I'm going to be adding half an inch for joining the band to the upper bodice. That's half an inch sewing allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it here like so. So after marking it, I'll just use my ruler to connect. So the next measurement I'll be taking is my allowance on my shoulder slope. So I'll make sure I add half an inch for my sewing allowance to join the front and back together. Please make sure you add your half an inch so it doesn't come out short. So we are done drafting this front pattern, and that's what we're going to be using to cut out the back. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out, and as you can see, I didn't touch the neck at all. This is because I'm going to use this to cut out the back. So after cutting the back out, that's when we're going to be touching the neck. So you can see that I just made a notch at that neck part like so. So right now I'm going to be cutting out the back, and as you can see, my fabric is on fold, and I added 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance for the back. So you can see that what I have here is about 1.5 inches. Please make sure you add your 1.5 inches zipper allowance. So the armhole for the back is always different from the front. It's not as deep as the front armhole. So right now I'm going to go ahead and adjust the armhole for the back. You can see what I did here. So now I'm going to be cutting out the back pattern. So now I'm going to put aside the front pattern, and I'm going to be cutting out the neck depth for the back pattern. I'll be using 1.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and extend that 1.5 inches here like so. So right now I'm just going to be making a curve at that neck part like so. Then I'll go ahead and trim it out. So because this is the back, I'm going to be opening it up because of the zipper allowance. So now I'm going to be making alterations for the front, and what I'll do is I'll just fold the front pattern into two like so, and I'll go ahead and make a notch in the middle of the neck part like so. So that notch that I made will help me determine where to cut the wrapped part of this upper bodice. So you can see that part that I notched. So from that part that I notched from the neck, I'm going to be coming down by about 5 inches. This is because I don't want the chest to be too open. So if you want yours to be a little bit open, you can come down by about 6 inches or 6.5 inches. So from that part, I'm just going to go ahead and place my ruler on the shoulder like so, and connect it to that 5 inches that I came down by. So I'm using my curved ruler just to get the wrapped illustration, just to get that wrapped part. So I'm just going to go ahead and curve it all the way to my waist like so. Just follow what I'm doing. So this is the part I'm going to be cutting out. You can see what I have here. So before cutting it out, I'm going to be adding half an inch to the neck like so all the way. This is for joining the neck with my bias. I'm going to be using a bias tape to fold it inside. So I'm just adding my half an inch allowance. So I'll just use my ruler to connect like so. And now I'll just cut it out. So this is the part I'll be needing for the front, and I'm going to be cutting the other side of this same part. So what I'll do is I'll make sure the back is facing each other. So just make sure the back of the fabric is facing. So I'm going to cut out another piece for it. So now I'm going to be cutting it out the exact same way. So after cutting the second piece out, if I place them on top of each other, this is what I'll have. So this is the front part of my upper bodice. So right now I'm going to be joining the upper bodice of this dress, and I'm going to be using my bias tape to tape the neck inside. So I'll advise you to use a similar color to your fabric. I'm just using a different color just for the sake of this tutorial because I don't have a similar color. So right now this is the front. I'm going to be taping it all the way inside. I believe you guys know how to use your bias tape on your clothes. So as you can see, I've gone ahead to join the back pieces together. So I just went ahead to use my 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance to join it together. So you can see what I have. So remember I said this the back piece is going to be having a dart. So what I did was to come down by half of an inch before marking my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. So right now I'm going to place my tape on that zipper allowance and mark my nipple to nipple measurements, which is 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4. So I'll mark the same 4 inches on my waistline as well, and I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So once I'm done connecting, I'll come to my waistline like so and take half of an inch for my dart. So I'll just take half of an inch on both sides of that line that I marked here like so, and I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So I'll be doing the exact same thing at the other side, and I'll just take this to my sewing machine and join the darts together. So this is what I have after joining. This is what my dart looks like. So now I'm going to be joining the shoulder of the front and back together, and I'll just place both parts of the front. I'll just place it on top of the back like so. Then I'll use the half an inch allowance that I left. I'll use it to join the shoulder together. So after joining it, this is what I have. You can see what it looks like. So I'll flip it over to the wrong side and I will use my body allowance to join it together. So I'm done joining it, and this is what my upper bodice looks like. So I'll just place that aside so I can cut out the flared part of this dress. So now we're going to be doing some calculations to cut out the flayed part of this dress. So I'm going to be marking the full length of my dress. That's from my shoulder to where I want this length to get to. That's the length of the dress to get to, inclusive of my sewing allowance. So inclusive of my sewing allowance, I have 38 inches. So I'm going to be minusing that 38 inches from my actual waist length. So my shoulder to my waist is 16 inches. So I'll minus 38 from 16 and it will give me 22. So I'm going to note that 22 down, and I'm going to be dividing that 22 by 3. Why I'm dividing it by 3 is because we are going to be having 3 flares. So if I divide it by 3, it will give me about 7 inches, approximately 7 inches. So right now is that 7 inches that I'm going to be using to cut out the length of my flare. So I hope you guys understand. Please, if you don't understand, you can go ahead and replay the video. All you need is the full length of your dress minus your shoulder to your waist length, then divide it by 3. That's all you need. So I'm also going to be needing my actual waist measurement. So you can see that I have 16 here. So if I multiply 16 by 2, it will give me 32. That's my actual full waist measurement. So right now I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches of my zipper allowance to it. Please make sure you add whatever you left for your zipper allowance to the actual waist circumference. Please don't forget to add it. So now we're going to be cutting out the flayed part, and we're going to be cutting out a 360-degree flare. So right now I'm going to be folding my fabric into 4 like so. So just watch how I'm doing it. So I'll just fold it into 2 first before folding it again. So I'm done folding, and this is what I have. And like I said earlier, all you need is your actual waist measurement, and you add your zipper allowance of 1.5. So my actual waist measurement is 32. I added my 1.5 inches to it to give me 33.5. So I'm going to be dividing that 33.5 into 4. Whatever it gives me, I'm going to go ahead and divide it again into 2. So it gave me about 8.5 thereabout, and I divided it into 2. It gave me about 4.1. So is this 4.1 I'm going to be using as my radius, and that is what I marked now. So you can see how I placed my tape. So all you need to do is just divide your waist circumference inclusive of your zipper allowance, divide it by 4. Whatever it gives you, divide it again by 2. So right now we'll be using that answer we got, the calculation we made when we measured our full length minus our shoulder to our waist, and then we divided it by 3. We'll be using it now. So you place your tape on that radius that you marked, and then you measure it. Please ignore the fact that I'm using 9 inches here. At the end of the day, I decided to use 8 inches for mine because I wanted it to be a little bit longer. So you can decide to make yours a little longer if you want, and is that 8 inches I'll be using for the 3 flare. So the next thing I'll do is just to use my curved ruler to connect the points that I marked. So now I'll be cutting out this part first before I cut out the other part. So right now I folded my fabric into 4, just like I did for the first flay, and I'm going to be using the same 8 inches I used for the first one. You can see where I placed my tape, just to let you know that the 3 flays are going to be 8 inches apart. So you can see where I placed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it all the way like so. So now I'll just use my ruler to connect, and I'll go ahead and cut it out. So just note that the radius is going to be the same, and the length of the flare is also the same as the first one. So right now I'm just going to cut it out. So now I'm going to be cutting out the last flare, and this is why I said you should use between 5 to 6 yards of fabric, because this style actually consumes a lot of fabric. So I'm going to be doing the same thing I did for the first and second flare. It's going to be 8 inches apart, and I'll go ahead and mark 8 inches here just from the second flare. I'm going to be using it to cut out the third one. So I'm going to mark 8 inches all the way like so. So I'm going to use my ruler to connect, and I'll cut it out. So you can see the 3 flare after cutting it. You can see what I have. So the next thing I'll be doing is to cut out the band for this dress, and you can see the way I folded my fabric. Just make sure you fold enough allowance so that when you're cutting out it doesn't come out short. So I'll go ahead and fold it here like so, then I'll fold it again. So you can see the way I folded it first, then before folding again. So right now I'm going to be marking the length of my waist. That's my waist measurement, my waist circumference, inclusive of the 1.5 inches for my band. So my actual waist measurement divided by 2 is 16. I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches to it, and it's going to give me about 17.5. So I'll go ahead and mark that 17.5 like so. So you can see what I have. My length, the length of this band is going to be 17.5 in total. So now I'm going to be marking the height of this band, and you know the actual height that we left is 1.5 inches, but I'm going to be adding extra 1 inch for it for my sewing allowance. So the extra 1 inch will be half an inch to join the upper bodice, then the other half an inch is to join the lower bodice to the band. So that is what is making it 2.5 inches. So I'll mark that 2.5 inches like so, and I'll use my ruler to connect. So right now I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to be adding this paper stay to the band. It's actually optional. If you don't want it, it's fine, but it's just to give it some firmness. So I've gone ahead to add it, and this is what I have. You can see it. So if I open it up, you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to be dividing this band into 2. I'm going to be cutting it into 2. So after dividing it into 2, I'm going to place it aside. So now back to the flare. You can see that I've gone ahead to hem the flare. You can see I've gone ahead to hem the 3 of them, and right now I'm going to be joining them together. So I'll place each flare on top of each other. So make sure you are placing the right side on top of each other. So this is what I have. So after placing them on top of each other, I'm just going to go ahead and pin them down. That's the 3 of them. I'll pin them down on top of each other. So this is what I have after pinning them down, and I'll just go ahead and use half of an inch to join this upper part like so. So after joining, this is what I have. This is what it looks like. So right now it's time to join the upper bodice to the flare, and what I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to go ahead and open up the zipper allowance part of the upper bodice. So I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. So after opening it up, I'm just going to go ahead and fold it into 2 like so, just for me to get the midpoint. So I'll fold it into 2, and I'll make a notch at the midpoint. So make sure you fold it properly so that you can get the midpoint. So after notching, I'm going to be joining the band to the upper part first. That's the upper body. So just watch how I'm doing it. So the first thing I'll be doing is I'll fold the band into two as well, and I'll make a notch at the midpoint just like I did for the upper bodies. So I'm going to be doing that for both bands. So right now I'm going to be joining the band to the upper body. So just watch how I'm going to be doing this. So the part that I notched at the upper bodies, I'm going to be placing the first band on top. Then the second band will be under. So the upper bodies will be in between both bands. And it's the part that I notched that are on top of each other. So please don't make that mistake. Make sure that the notched parts are in between. So you can see what I have. You can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my pin to hold the three of them together. So now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I will join it with 1/2 inch. So this is what I have after joining it. So right now I'll go ahead and fold it like this and I'll iron it. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to iron this. So right now I've gone ahead to iron the upper parts. You can see how I'm ironing it. Just make sure you iron it flatly and neatly. So now I'll be folding the first band. I'll be folding it in like so. So I'll make sure the first part I'm folding, I'm using about 1/2 inch to fold it inside. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm using 1/2 inch to fold this first band inside. That's the band on the right side. I'm using 1/2 inch to fold it inside. Then I'll go ahead and iron it. So I'm done folding the band on the right side, and now I'm going to be folding the one on the wrong side. So instead of me to use 1/2 inch to fold, I'm going to be using 1/4 inch instead. So you can see that the one on the wrong side is a little bit longer than the one on the right side. This is because when I'm stitching, I don't want it to maybe skip or jump. So it will be easier for me when I'm stitching my flare to it. So you can just make the other one longer than the one on the right side. I hope you guys understand. So I'm done ironing, and this is what I have. And right now I'm going to be joining my flared skirt to it. That's the lower bodies. I'm going to be joining it to the upper bodies. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and make a notch in the middle just like I did for the upper bodies. Then I'll be placing it in between this band like so. So I'll just go ahead and use my pin to hold it down. So after doing that, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch it down. So I'm done stitching, and this is what I have. You can see how neat the band looks, and I also went ahead to fix my zipper and close the remaining part of this flare. So you can see what I have. You can see what it looks like. So right now I'm going to be cutting out the sleeve for this dress, and I'm going to be making a balloon sleeve. So you can see I already marked about 1/2 inch at the top of my fabric, and my fabric is on fold. As you can see, I folded it into two, and you can see how wide it is. This is because it's going to be a balloon sleeve. So right now I'm going to measure the length of my sleeve inclusive of the sewing allowance. So I'm going to be marking 24.5 inches. My actual length is 3 inches, but because of the sewing allowance I'm adding extra 1.5 inches to it, which will make it 24.5. So right now I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So right now I'll come here, and I'm going to go ahead and mark 3 inches downwards like so. So right now I'm going to go ahead and make a curve. That's that curve that we normally mark when we are drafting our sleeve. I'm just going to go ahead and mark it all the way to the 3 inches I came down by, so you can see what I have here. So now I'm going to bring in my dress and mark whatever it is I have on my armhole. And after marking it, I had about 11 inches. So I'll just make sure that whatever I have here is 11 inches. I'll mark it here like so. Then because I want this sleeve to be puffy at the top, I'm going to be adding extra 3 inches to it. So you can see what I have here. So for the extra puffiness, I'm adding extra 3 inches to it. So if you want your puff to be bigger than that, you can add as much allowance as you want to. Then at the lower part as well, because I want it to have an elastic band, I'm just going to go ahead and make a straight line all the way down like so. So I'll just mark the straight line all the way down to my sleeve length. So I'm done drafting the sleeve, and I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So remember, we're going to be cutting 2 pieces of it. So the next thing I'll be doing now is that I'll take this to my sewing machine and fold it in. So remember the extra allowance I left, I'm going to fold it in for my elastic band. So I'm done doing that. I've gone ahead to sew it down, and right now I'll be fixing my elastic band into it. So now I'm going to be using my safety pin to insert the elastic into it. So if you don't know the measurement of the elastic to use, all you need to do is just measure your wrist. So whatever you have on your wrist, just add about 1 inch or 1.5 inches to it, and that will be the length of the elastic you will use. So right now I'm going to go ahead and fix my elastic into the casing. So I'm done inserting at the edge. I'm just going to go ahead and join this part. I'm just going to sew it down, and I'm going to do the same thing at the other side as well. So right now I'm going to be joining the sleeve to my dress, as you can see. So now I'll come to the armhole like so and just open it up. I'm going to open up about half an inch, just enough for me to join my sleeve to the dress. So now I went ahead to turn my dress to the wrong side, so you can see that it's on the wrong side. So what I'll do right now is that I'm going to take the right side of my sleeve. So you can see this is the right side. I'm going to place it on the right side of the armhole of my dress, and I'll use my pin to hold it down. So just follow what I'm doing. I'm going to use my pin to hold it down all the way like so. But when I get to the shoulder, I'm going to stop, and I will go ahead to the other side and hold it down as well. So now I'm going to do the same thing at the other side. I'll make sure the right side is facing the right side, and I'll use my pin to hold it down. So you can see here that I have enough allowance. You can see that I have extra allowance. So is that allowance that I'm going to go ahead and pleat. So you can see what I have. So I'll take my time to pleat it carefully. You can go ahead and pleat it when you're sewing as well. Well, me, I'll just go ahead and pleat it like so. Then I'll use my pin to hold it down before taking it to my sewing machine to join it. So now I'll just take it to my sewing machine, and I'll go ahead and join it together. So I'm gonna head to join it, and that is that for my sleeve. So what I'll do right now is that at the wrist part, that place I put the elastic, I'll just go ahead and use that for an inch to join it all the way to my armhole. But when I get to my armhole, I'll go ahead and use the allowance that I loosened when I was about to join my sleeve. I'll use it to join it together. And that is that for this dress. You can see the final look. All it needs right now is just proper ironing, and we've come to the end of today's tutorial. Please, if this is the first time on my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you're a returning subscriber, please don't forget to like and share the video. Thank you so much for watching, and please, if you have any questions, don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section. I'll respond to all the questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.